Hello and welcome to Miniatures Rundown, continuing with our Age of Sigmar 4.0. Is that what edition we're in? Yeah.
Yeah, we're in 4.0.
Faction focuses. Today, everybody's favorite steampunk dwarfs. Just kidding. Kharadron Overlords.
I was gonna say, is there another set of steampunk dwarves?
No.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they are also my favorite steampunk dwarves.
Kharadron Overlords, aka the Tau of Age of Sigmar, although much less now than they used to be. In the best of ways, honestly.
I mean, yeah, Tau does have its feel bad moments.
Yeah, sure. And KO still are an army that will mess you up if you don't know what you're doing.
Sure.
But this is one of the armies I think that has changed the most conceptually since last edition. Things work so much differently just because the transport, like the garrisoning rule for boats is gone.
Right.
And good, RIP. Good riddance. I like this a lot better, but I guess let's get into what Kharadron Overlords are.
Sure.
So, your battle traits all kind of work together in concert to determine how you play this army, with the exception of maybe the last one. So, once per battle in your deployment phase. So, once per battle, you can do this. This is flying high. You pick a friendly sky vessel that is part of a regiment from which no units have been deployed. Then pick a number of units up to its transport capacity, which is on its war scroll, and that are in its regiment. All of those units are set up in reserve in the clouds. So basically, you can only set up one sky vessel in the clouds. Mm-hmm. You do it during deployment. You set up one sky vessel and a number of models equal to its transport capacity that are also in its regiment, and that's who you deploy in reserve.
Right.
Which is not something that was really actually in KO beforehand.
No, I don't believe so.
KO beforehand. You deployed all your guys at the back of the board, and then flighted.
Yeah.
Anyway, you move them around that way.
Okay.
Now they have Deep Strike.
Nice.
Based in. And then
Which makes sense as sky vessels, but whatever.
Yeah. In your movement phase, you can descend from the clouds, which is pick a friendly sky vessel that is in the reserve clouds and set up that sky vessel anywhere on the battlefield, more than 9 inches from all enemy units and all the units that were in the clouds with it, wholly within 6 inches, and more than 9 from all enemy units.
So they aren't actually in it ever.
Right. That is gone.
The thing comes on the board, they're set up immediately.
Right. No one is ever in a boat anymore while you could shoot at them or fight with them.
Yeah, they unfortunately can't be on a boat with T-Pain.
Jorma's so mad he got left behind.
I mean, yeah.
We are all Jorma. Was it Kiev? No, it was Jorma who we got left behind.
Yes.
We had to go to Kinko's to make copies. Remember when Lonely Island was funny? Now I'm really dating myself. So that's that. You have a reserve deploy option that you did not have before. Woo. You're going to pick one of these. It could be your Ironclad if you wanted to maximize the number of people. It's probably going to be an Ironclad, but a frigate is also a really good option, and we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. So, there's also a reaction when you declared a non-charge move ability for a friendly sky vessel. So this is a reaction to yourself. And I love that about New Age of Sigmar.
That's fair.
You declared an ability, here's a reaction to your own ability immediately.
I'm sorry, this is only for the magic nerds. I will cast a spell. Hold priority.
That's basically what it is. Yeah. Great. Now I'm going to say that. So this is when you elect to move with a friendly sky vessel, because I like how it says friendly. Yeah. You pick a number of units up to that sky vessel's transport capacity, again on the war scroll, that are wholly within 6 inches of it to be the targets. Worth noting, and take a drink, we'll get to this. Unit capacity is unit capacity for transports, not per model.
So big units, good.
Can be.
Can be good.
Because they have to be wholly within 6 inches.
That's true.
So anyway, you pick a number of units equal to transport capacity that are wholly within 6 inches of it. Units that have been transported this turn cannot be the targets. No daisy chaining.
They're going to pick up. Okay, on this one, I'm going to pick up.
Thank you, Warhammer, for seeing that one coming.
Yes.
You remove the target from the battlefield. The target is the models, not the sky vessel. The sky vessel still moves normally. There's no more boat teleporting. Mm-hmm. The boat teleporting is gone. The sky vessel just moves, and then after it's done with its move, you set up your target unit within 6 inches of that sky vessel and not in combat.
So this is similar to the previous fly high sky.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Not really, because previously when you flew high, if there were guys in your boat, they just stayed in the boat. Then they could choose to get out of the boat.
Gotcha.
But that's gone. Now it's just I'm moving a sky vessel very normally. Like I'm not doing the teleport anymore. I'm just doing a normal move. And the models disappear and then reappear with it.
They kind of like tow behind it.
It works more like these engine riggers and skywardens used to work, where they would, like, instead of getting on the boat, you would just hook yourself to the boat and move with it.
Yes. That must be what I'm thinking.
Everyone kind of moves like that now, or can. You can't, again, you cannot daisy chain, so you can only do this with one unit at a time. This is something you can do with all of your sky vessels every turn, if you want to.
You can't move the same unit multiple times.
Right.
But, like, a sky vessel, this one can pick up this unit and move over.
Sky Vessel A can do this, Sky Vessel B can do this. There's no limit on that. Worth noting, you cannot use a charge ability if you did that. So, for example, let's say your Sky Wardens, who have pikes and want to charge, we'll get to that, take a drink. Let's say that they go along with your Ironclad. They can't charge that turn.
Because the limit is only within 6 inches of the vehicle and not in combat, you can end at 3.01 inches, which means you definitely are not allowed to charge.
Right. And you have to be careful because someone could charge you.
Yeah.
You can shoot, though. So keep that in mind. Speaking of shooting, your passive that you have all the time, subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target friendly infantry units, Kharadron Overlords infantry units, while you're wholly within 6 inches of an ironclad or frigate. It's covering fire.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Suppressing fire extinguisher. This is kind of similar to like the -1 to be hit you had when you were garrisoned in a boat previously.
Yeah.
But now it's just when you're within 6 inches, wholly within 6 inches.
Effectively within 6 inches is on the boat.
And -1 to hit is not bad.
No.
All right, so now we know the base rules. Everyone's got that. Let's talk about the battle formations. Obviously, these are your sub-factions. They're even less... The sub-factions for KO were never really codified into actually, like...
Not really.
Except Barrack Thring being the melee one. And it's also kind of gone. All right, so we'll start with Iron Sky Attack Squadron.
So the Iron Sky Attack Squadron is the meticulously maintained sub-faction. You ignore the first damage point that would be allocated to each friendly sky vessel in each phase.
Phase.
Yeah, but it's only 1 point.
Yeah, but this, like, sky vessels are tough.
Sure.
And have a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a general use one, but it's
is.
always good.
Yeah. If you're spamming sky vessels, which, I mean, that's their
You will
identity.
use sky vessels now.
Yeah.
Like, this is not, there's no infantry spam KO.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there probably is, but...
Ignoring the first damage point, like, I could see it being useful. Eventually that will stack up, especially against certain armies.
Obviously, it stacks up against combined arms armies.
Yes.
Who want to do multiple phase damage, as opposed to, I'm Khorne, I'm going to do all my damage in the melee phase.
Yeah, so it's basically -1 damage.
This one's fine.
Yeah.
It's your most basic, but also you're pretty good. The next one is Ether Runners, and this is just +2-inch movement to all of your sky vessels. I like this one better.
I like this one better, too.
Movement wins games.
It does.
Especially in Age of Sigmar 4.0, where a lot of the tactics and battle tactics are about being places and getting places.
And +2 movement to your sky vessels is basically +2 movement to everything in your army.
Because, well, everything's slow.
Everything's slow.
Because they're all going to move with the boats.
Yeah.
So movement is great, and +2 movement to functionally everything is pretty good.
Next is the Endranir's Guild of Expeditionary Force.
No of in the middle, but yes.
Oh. Once per battle in your deployment phase, basically a deployment setup, pick a friendly non-unique Overlord's hero and that does not have an artifact of power. Very specific. Give that hero 1 artifact of power in the Inventions of Skyports, which we're coming up to soon. So the cool part about this is it is in your deployment phase, so very similar to any other deployment ability. You can pick it after the battle starts.
I could see a world in which you don't take any of the artifacts of power and then use this to reactively put a good artifact of power on this.
Well, it's not even that. It's not if you don't have an artifact of power. It's if so you can give an artifact to somebody and then give a second one.
No,
with this,
I'm
which is
saying
really
that I
good.
could see not giving one to a hero that you really care about, so you could give him one but pick it later.
Interesting.
Because you also don't have to give someone an artifact of power.
Right, but there's also no downside unless you only have 1 non-unique.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That is very strong. It's only once per game in the deployment phase, so it's very early. But just an extra artifact is really good.
Yeah. I still like the movement more. That's my favorite.
That's fair.
Spoiler. The last one, the Grundkorps wing. The Gruncore is like your Thunderers, basically. Grunstock Thunderers and Grunstock Gun Haulers. It's the Kharadron Mercenaries. Add 3 inch to the range characteristic of ranged weapons used by Thunderers and Gun Haulers for the rest of the turn, once per battle. It's so... That is not as good as having 2 inch movement all the time.
Yeah, for the whole game. So I could see it once per game, because there's probably only going to be one time it matters.
A lot of Kharadron counterplay is like trying to zone out and screen their guns from your models, and this could make that more difficult once.
That's
because
true.
You either have to always play like they've got an extra 3 inches, or you get caught out.
Yeah, just never use it.
Right. I mean, hey, if it still makes your opponent make worse choices,
True.
that's fine. My favorite is obviously the movement one.
Yeah,
Other Runners is
my
good.
favorite too.
All right, there are traits. So these are the Lords of the Sky Fleets. Remember, non-unique heroes only. There are only 2 unique heroes in Kharadron Overlords. There's Mustache Gunman, who is actually playable now. Brock, thank you.
Yeah, Brock.
And then there's Drucky Flint from...
Does he also have a mustache? Oh, no.
I mean,
he also has a mustache. He doesn't have a mustache gun.
No, he doesn't have... Yeah, he's the old guy. Sorry. So you've only got 3 of these.
I'll start with the first one. I believe everybody has 3 traits and 3 artifacts, which makes sense. First is the Endrin Maestro. It is passive ability, plus 2 inches to the range characteristic of ranged weapons used by friendly Overlord's infantry while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That's better than the...
I would rather put this... Now, I mean, you could stack it.
You could... That's true, you could stack
5 extra inches. But I would rather just put this on a guy and keep him around by infantry.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, 3 inches once.
Yeah, 3 inches once or 2 inches forever to everything around him.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Next one is the Grudge Bearer. This is only during your deployment phase. You pick an enemy unit. You double the damage characteristic of this unit's weapons. Only this unit. And your options are a little limited because it doesn't apply to Brock, who's probably your best, like, hammer hero now.
Right.
Because he's unique. You double the damage characteristic of this unit's weapons for attacks that target that enemy unit. Basically, you go, that guy right there, I'm personally going to kill that guy.
Yeah. Becomes a hero hunter, but not just for heroes.
Yeah. You can pick any enemy unit.
Yeah.
And, like, this can be good because some of the, especially the Endermaster and Dirigible suit is still pretty offensively good.
Sure.
But most of your firepower is coming from your boats.
Yeah.
So...
They really deal with massed firepower.
Yes.
And plus, double damage is stupidly good.
If this was on Brock, this would be broken.
Double damage is stupidly good, but like only against one thing and only with a hero is a little limited.
The only against one thing is great. The only with one hero is what lets us down.
Yeah. Well, and then even if you do this and you kill the thing, it's just irrelevant for the rest of the game. So it has to be something really important.
Depending on what you're fighting. That could be very important. Like if I put Karazai on the field.
Yeah, that's true.
If you kill him, you probably won.
And lastly, we have the Cunning Fleet Master. Passive, each time a friendly sky vessel wholly within 12 inches of this unit uses the redeploy command, roll 2 dice and pick the highest when determining the distance. That's fine. I mean, redeploy is really good.
It is.
I think the problem is if you redeploy a sky vessel, you can't move them with... No, because it's a non-charge move.
Right.
So you could still pick up your guys and...
Yes.
It's actually not bad.
No, that one is pretty good. That actually might be my... It's hard between that and Injured Maestro, sorry.
Yeah. I actually think I like that one the best.
I can see that. So, Artifacts of Power, keep in mind, remember, you can pick another one of these if you really want to. You've got the... Sorry, these names. Blazebeard and Sons Drake Hobbler Magbolas. Pick an enemy monster. Oh, this is once per battle, any shooting or combat phase, so your opponents as well. Nice. Pick an enemy monster within 12 inches. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from the number of dice rolled when taking charge rolls for that target to a minimum of 1. Now, what makes this one so good is you don't have to roll for it.
Yep. They just picking it within 12. No.
It's obviously completely useless if your opponent doesn't have monsters.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting, for example, Kharadron Overlords, it does nothing.
True.
But that's one of the ones we're speccing into this. Could be really good.
Yeah.
You have to be within 12 inches to start, which means you have to be within 12 charge range, but then you suddenly make it so that you're not within charge range.
Yeah. If you're within 12 but outside of 6, you just cannot charge.
Well, they can't charge
That's
you.
right. They can't charge him.
But yeah, you could seriously ruin a monster stay with this.
Yeah.
Because that gives you more time to shoot it.
Mm-hmm. Next up is the Celestium Burst Grenade.
Making a glorious return.
Nice. Once per battle in your shooting phase, pick an enemy unit within 12 inches to be the target. Ward rolls cannot be made for the rest of the turn. Again, kind of sort of depends on your opponent. If there's ward rolls everywhere, this is fantastic. If they're kind of just like running at you and no ward, it might be useful. Most big heroes have wards.
Yeah, nowadays a lot of big heroes have some kind of ward. A lot of things that you might want to focus fire down have a ward. This is probably more generally useful than the Mag Bolus.
Yeah, I agree.
Still only once per battle, but it's in your shooting phase, and as Kharadron, you should be able to get most guns on target when it matters.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The hard part will be getting your hero within 12. And then the last one is just the Voidstone Orb. This is, again, a once per battle. Wizard within 30 inches declares a spell. You can just unbind it.
Yep. No rolls, no nothing. It's just, nope, that doesn't happen. Once per game, that kind of calls back to the what is it, the Aether in a Bottle or whatever it was?
The Spell in a Bottle.
Spell in a Bottle, where like once per game you could cast a spell.
Yeah, or the Voidstorm Scroll for Stormcast, where they just have that one wizard you can just go, no.
All of these are like potentially useful, which is what I can see that subfaction being very good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not in that subfaction, you might just be kind of screwed.
That's the problem is that like my gut would be to take the ward one almost always.
I agree.
Because it's just so good. The Mag Bolus will be better in that one particular moment though. Mm-hmm. So I could still see wanting to spec into that subfaction.
And the Voidstone Orb to dispel a spell, I mean spells are everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're not taking at the very least endless spells, you're kind of doing it right.
And that's kind of all you have for that as KO.
Yeah.
Because guess what? There's no prayer lore and no spell lore. These guys don't pray and they don't do magic.
They ain't got nothing.
And their ability to affect these. I mean, there is still we'll get to the Etheric Navigator who can kind of mess with these things, but that's not much.
Yeah, one of the very few factions that have neither.
Mm-hmm. Might be the only faction who has neither.
Maybe we'll find out.
No, I think it's the only faction who has neither. I guess we'll talk about it later more. So, we've already talked about him a little bit. I want to talk about Brock Grungson, Mustache Man, the Lord Magnate of Barracknar. The biggest improvement to him is that he is now no longer sub-faction locked.
Yeah.
That alone makes him way more worth taking than he ever has been previously. Because they always put him in with Barracknar, which was always not a great sub-faction.
Well, see, so that's just a problem with the previous editions, like, eventual move into what it was at the end of the edition, because the battle tomes at the end of the edition didn't care what subfaction you were in, you just didn't get bonuses.
Right.
Whereas at the beginning it was like, oh, you're not Barracknar, can't take this guy. So
for KO you wanted the bonuses though.
But could you take him outside of Barracknar?
No.
Then that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So what I mean is like they have shifted from like very, very restricted in the subfactions to being more open to being now.
Yes, and what I'm saying is he benefits greatly from this. Yeah. He is a War Master, so if you bring him, he's got to be your head honcho.
Yeah.
He does not have a ward. Be aware. 8 wounds, 12-inch movement, only 2 control, 3 up save, though. He's got that power armor. He's got 2 ranged weapons, Grugnison's Boast and the Magnate's Charter. The Grugnison's Boast is an 18-inch range gun with only 1 attack, but it's 3s and 2s, 2 rend, D3 plus 3 damage.
Oh. What was that about double damage being busted on this guy?
Exactly. That's why he can't take it.
He can't take it.
The Magnus Charter is his main gun, which is 12-inch range, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, and can shoot in combat.
For some reason, the mustache can't shoot in combat.
It's really hard to aim. And combat is not something this guy will shy away from. He's got 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage. Like, this guy will mess you up.
Slightly better than a foot hero, on top of having 2 very good guns.
Yeah. So his abilities, he doesn't have any passives, which is kind of weird. His actual mustache gun isn't one of these. It's an ability.
Oh.
No, his mustache-mounted Ether Blasters is an ability you can use at the end of any turn, and it's you pick an enemy in combat and roll a D3 on a 2-up, get mortal damage.
Okay.
So actually, the mustache gun can only shoot in combat.
That's interesting.
The first rule of Grugnison is something you can use in any combat phase. That means your opponents pick up to 3 other friendly Skyfarer units within this unit's combat range, so within 3 inches, add +1 to their attacks for melee.
The Balloon Boys.
So this guy adds melee punch to KO, which makes him seem weird, but I don't think that's as weird as it used to be.
Yeah.
And then lastly, he's got a once per battle in your movement phase ability called Command the Fleet, which is you pick up to 3 visible friendly sky vessels wholly within 24 inches that are not in combat, and they can all use a run ability and also shoot or charge later.
That's really good.
That is incredibly good.
It is a huge area.
Yeah, 24-inch, wholly within 24 inches is 48-inch bubble.
And run, shoot, and charge on 3 different units.
You're probably only going to have like 3 sky vessels.
Yeah. And the fact that they can all carry guys.
They can all take guys with them. Now, those guys can't charge afterwards.
Sure, but they can shoot.
Yeah, exactly. This is, at the beginning of the game, you could put this guy on your army and back deploy.
Yep.
Or sky deploy, and then turn 1, run and shoot to get wherever you want to go.
And I'm going to assume that these ships are not slow.
What makes you assume that?
That they're sky vessels, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the downside.
290 points. Oh my god.
That is a lot for a guy with 8 wounds and a 3-up save.
Yes.
And no ward.
All of his abilities are great.
That's the thing. He is this amazing force multiplier that will die to, like, 3-up wounds, 3-up save and 8 wounds is not much.
Does he get the can't be shot outside of 12?
He is an infantry hero. But
he is an infantry
he doesn't
hero.
have fly, which I think means he doesn't get it. I forget.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, you really don't want I mean, you want to hide this guy behind a boat.
Yeah. Or 2, or 3.
Speaking of boats, we're not going to go through every single worth roll again. I will say the Etheric Navigator does have Unbind 1. He can unbind spells like he was a wizard. He doesn't get any bonuses doing so, but he can do that.
Can he get rid of manifestations? No.
No, because Unbind and Dispel are 2 different things. So he can try and stop them from happening, but he can't get
Once they're on the board, you can't get rid of them.
Right.
That's rough.
The Arcanaut Admiral can basically buff one thing be your flagship and make it use all-out attack for free.
Nice.
That's very good. It increases control score.
Any command abilities for free is fantastic.
The Engine Master heals and also makes your engine riggers heal better.
Okay.
Which is good. Drekkie Flint, again, he's more usable now that he doesn't have a sub-faction that he is tied to.
Mm-hmm.
So he's only got 6 wounds. He's also doesn't fly. 180 points. He's only got 6 wounds. He doesn't fly, so he's only got 4-inch move. He's got a gun that is 2d6 attacks, 10 inches, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, but shoots in combat. And a big ol' axe with 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage, anti-monster plus 1 rend. He's a monster hunter.
Mm-hmm.
You can reroll run and charge rolls for his specific ship, which is basically you pick an Arcanaut frigate and make it his Aelsing ship.
Okay, that's
It doesn't have his own war scroll. He just jumps on a frigate and goes, yeah, that one's mine
That's
now.
mine. I'm the captain now.
The thing is it gets the Aelsing keyword, and also it gets +1 damage to its melee.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So because he is infantry, he can be one of the passengers on the boat.
Yes.
So he can teleport with the boat, which is obviously what he's going for.
Yes.
And then he has,
He can also inflict small amount of mortals on a monster he's in combat with.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of your monster hunter. For 160 points, I don't think he's actually good, but he is funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Book Boy. Let's talk about Book Boy for just a second. He doesn't have the incredibly stupid rule that he used to last time about like actually bending the rules. You roll the dice. You pick 3 friendly KO units. You roll a dice. As long as you roll 3 up for each of them, you can add +2 to their control, add +1 to their run and charge, or no mortal damage inflicted by retreats.
Very, very flexible.
Very flexible.
Looking up points.
He still has the battle tome melee weapon, which is funny.
110.
110. Okay.
Decently cheap.
That's not bad. Your Arcanaut company have not changed in their role that much. They still have 1 wound, and they still have a 4-up save, which an innate 4-up save is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
They get +1 to their hit rolls if they target something that is on an objective,
Which is pretty good.
which is good.
Especially when their hits are only at 4.
They're basically all 4s and 4s, 1 damage, but their pistols can shoot in combat now. Still can.
Well,
shoot.
still, yeah.
Yeah, they get 2 pistol attacks, 4s and 4s, 1 damage. They can still have a volley gun. It's 4s and 4s now instead of 5s and 4s, or 4s and 5s, whatever it was.
Yeah.
There's Skyhook, which you can bring as anti-monster +1 rend. It already has 2 rend, so it's pretty good.
These guys better be cheap.
Their hand weapon is 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, 1 damage with no rend. You can take a Sky Pike for 3s and 3s, 1 damage, 2 rend. So they're still not bad. You're going to take them because they're what you have for OC.
Yeah. They're 110 points as well for a 10-man unit, which is decently cheap.
For a 10-man unit with a 4 for 10 wounds with a 4-up save, 110 points is not bad.
Yeah.
You won't have a lot of these, but you need some of these, otherwise you will never hold objectives.
Right.
One thing I wanted to call out is the Sky Wardens.
Okay.
Because they also have had a great default. Sky Wardens previously were pretty much not worth taking.
Okay.
Because they actually had worse melee weapons than the Engine Riggers.
That's hilarious.
They still kind of do, is the problem. But not as much anymore. Like, the Engine Riggers still hit harder, but these are more consistent.
Okay.
So they're still probably your melee thing. They're still weird in that you can still water down their melee capability to give them additional volley guns, or they've combined the Sky Warden heavy weapon, which is a gun. And doing so makes them better at shooting, which they're still pretty decent at. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage for their pistols, which they can use in combat. But doing that takes away your Sky Pike, which waters down your punch, your melee punch.
These guys are giving me a little bit of Storm Vermin.
A little bit.
Storm Fiend. Storm Fiend vibes.
Storm Fiend?
Yeah.
And that they have the weird...
They can basically choose between ranged or melee, and like taking one deletes the other.
Yeah, kind of.
But it's always a mixed unit, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because the leader and the champion in this one can't change his weapons.
Right. He has to come with a Sky Pike and a Vulcanizer pistol.
Right. Which is weird that the leader gets the worst weapons.
Well,
the Sky Pike is pretty
That's the thing. I don't think so. Plus, the leader champion gets +1 attack.
Right. Oh, that's true.
So he's going to have 3 attacks instead of 2 with his Sky Pike. 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage with Crit Mortal. Crit Mortal's really good.
Crit Mortal is really good.
If you're... The damage ceiling, if you're using both ranged and melee, which you should be with these guys, is higher if you do put the better weapons on them. But they're more consistently good in melee if you don't. Which is the problem. They also have a timed charge ability, which is when you pick an enemy unit in combat with them, and they take mortals on a 2-up, and you can retreat without using. So the idea is you can charge somebody, smack them, blow them up, and retreat. Okay. That's what you should be doing with these guys. How many points are they?
150 for a 3-man.
Yeah, that's about right. They're 2 wounds each, 4-up save.
Yeah.
So 6 wounds.
50 points a model's up there.
It is, but I think they have a pretty high damage potential.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're more mobile than they used to be. They don't need to hitch around with boats, though, because they've got 12 inch.
Yeah, they're speed 12.
Thunderers. Oh, boy. Thunderers.
I do need to hitch around in a boat because they're speed 4.
Yeah, and Thunderers are still paying for the sins of last edition.
Oh, yeah.
So if you didn't know, Thunderers last edition were the only good thing in KO, so they kept going up in points because rather than make other things not great, they just kept going up in points to make them people use other things, and they still didn't because they were the only thing worth using.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
If you don't move and aren't set up this turn, they can shoot in combat.
Interesting.
But they can't do that without this, and that's a very big change. The big problem with these guys, their guns hit on 3s, but wound on 4s.
Yeah, wound on 4s is kind of bad. What are those made out of? Aluminum?
Apparently. The good thing is that they combined the Fumigator and Deck Sweeper into one 10-inch weapon with 5 attacks. It doesn't matter which one you picked.
Nice.
And the Mortar and Cannon are one 18-inch gun with 3 attacks, 4s and 3s. So swappy.
2 attacks, not 3.
2 attacks? Oh, sorry. 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, but D3 damage. How many points are they?
Thunderers are 140 for a 5-man.
At least they're more competitive points-wise. They also have 2 wounds.
It's true.
And they do have a 3-up save. So these are still kind of your anvil unit.
Yeah, I could see that.
You only get 5 of them.
Yeah, for 140 is a little rough. But...
And wounding on 4s is really rough. They have a standard bearer and a champion.
Woo.
All right, boats.
Das Boot.
Das Boot. So, Ironclad went up to 20 health, 10-inch movement, 3-up save. They did not combine the weapons on these.
That's a lot of weapons.
Yes, so you've got the carbines. You've got 8 of them, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. Shoots in combat, but the Ether-Shock torpedoes can't. The Sky Cannon, Skyhook, and Volley Cannon all cannot shoot in combat. The Sky Cannon has 4s and 2s, 2 rend, D3 plus 3. Your Skyhook is 3s and 2s, 2 rend, D6, but with anti-monster plus 1. So technically much less consistent, but better rend versus monster. And the Volley Cannon is 46 attacks, but 4s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage with anti-infantry.
Yeah, you're anti-infantry, you're anti-monster, and you're anti-everything.
I still think you're going to take the Sky Cannon.
I agree.
in almost all capacities.
It's only 2 shots, but it's a minimum 4 damage per shot.
Yeah, it's and wounding on 2s is really, really nice. You do hit on 4s, that does suck, but that's just what you save your auto attack for.
Yeah.
Bring an Arcanine Admiral, make him a...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, transport capacity. You can pick up to 3 units with this guy with a combined model count of up to 22. So it's unit-based, but still model-based.
Also model-based.
Right. So big units, not necessarily good.
Right.
That's not bad. He has bomb racks, which is when you pass over someone, 50% of the time you do immortal. Woohoo. And
well,
then
roll 10 dice.
Yeah.
So it's not a mortal, it's like 5 mortals.
Sorry,
on
50%
average.
of the time you do immortal for each dice.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that. 5 mortals half the time. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And then your deployment phase, you get to pick an engine work, which is nice because you get to list Taylor. You can add +2 to movement. That stacks. So then you're looking at 14 inches if you do both.
Yeah.
+1 to the total number of units and 10 to the total number of models.
So you can have 4 units.
And you can also give it an unbind.
Also good. Nice.
Now, how many points is it?
500.
Yeah. So this is worth the points. It is very much the center of your list. You're probably only going to take 1.
Yeah. 1 big ship.
Watch out for the Burning Head because it has +1 rend against War Machines.
Oh, yeah, against War Machines.
Well, the Burning Head is really good.
Burning Head is really good.
And unlike last time, the frigate now has its own role. It's only 5 health left, but it moves faster, has the same stats on its cannon and Heavy Skyhook. Oh, no, sorry, the Heavy Skyhook hits on 4s too. Yeah, there's the Ironclad is a great sky cannon. This is a heavy sky cannon. Yeah.
So they are different weapons.
Does less damage overall in general. The big thing about the frigate is it has what's called the assault boat.
Assault boot.
Boot to the head.
Exactly.
You cannot use this ability if you run a retreat or if you're in combat. Basically, this is letting people charge with you. We saw this in the previews for KO, and everyone was excited, and I agree. You pick a number of units up to its transport capacity that are wholly within 6 inches and have not charged this turn, and then make a charge roll. Remove the targets from the battlefield. Basically, they charge with you, and they have to end within half an inch. And it gives them strike first.
Ooh. Okay.
So, here's the thing. Units does mean other heroes.
Yes.
So this could apply to Brock,
That's true. That's true.
who buffs attacks.
Yeah.
This has transport capacity of 2 infantry units and up to 12 people. So you could take 1 Brock and 6 Skywardens.
Okay.
Or you could take a Brock and a bunch of Arcanaut, or a Brock and a bunch of Thunders if you wanted them to charge. They wouldn't get their shoot in combat if you did that, so probably don't want to do that, but
Yeah.
you can shoot first. Basically, it's just a fun way to charge around.
So it's an assault boat. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It wants to move up and like group charge stuff.
Yeah. How many points?
This was the frigate.
Yes.
320.
Okay.
I could see that.
And then finally, the gun hauler gives a ward of only 6 up to frigates and ironclads. It's not bad, but they're relatively cheap and still relatively damaging.
Can only transport 1 unit.
Yes.
That's rough.
I mean, hey, last edition you had to pay for an upgrade to transport anything with these guys.
Wow.
I mean, have you seen how big that thing is? Like,
Yeah. That one's only 200 points though, so it's the cheapest of the 3.
it is the cheapest. It's a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how they fit 5 guys in there, but you could cart around a unit of Thunderers with this guy.
Yeah. True.
It's not bad. So overall, KO. Still very mobile with their boats, but not outside them.
Right.
That hasn't changed. The big thing for KO is that it is way harder to hide your own forces.
Yes.
The
You can't just put them in the boat and go,
you can't shoot me, or you got to get to my boat with to hurt me. You got -1 to hit if you're nearby a boat, and you have a lot of mobility, but you're not invincible
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form. So I think they're probably going to be harder to play.
And if those boats go down, boy, you're running.
Yeah, I know you're running slowly.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I think KO feel like they are more fun to fight with and against
Sure.
than last edition in general.
They're not just like, hey, everybody, murder eyes.
Right. They're not Tau at their worst.
Yeah.
They're a little bit Tau-y, but they also have more melee than Tau.
That's true.
Because unlike Tau, they didn't try and release a crit book that just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, they're more towards the middle, still on the shooty side, but more towards the middle than Tau is.
Yes, yeah. And they are more general. I think, like a lot of ways, Age of Sigmar learns from 40k's problems.
Yeah.
And they did not make these guys pure Tau, which is the way it should be.
Yes.
Overall, I'm excited to play them. I think they're pretty good. Probably, obviously, they're way more, skewed
Yes.
They're inherently an army skew, like they're inherently shooting skewed.
Yeah.
So it's weird that we're talking about them first. And also, no access to spells. There's no spell in a bottle here.
Nope. No spell in a bottle. You only have a couple of things to even try and dispel.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you should probably take those.
Yeah, like if you're playing anything that has any kind of magic,
Which, again, is flying around
which
everywhere.
is flying around everywhere, you probably want to put that on the boat.
Yeah.
Just because it's also really funny.
It is. Or, if you're going up against Khorne and they don't have any spells, you might as well just give them something else.
If you're going up against Khorne, you give them the +2 movement.
Yes.
To run away from the screaming Khorne hordes. And that's it. Overall, I think KO are going to be in an interesting place.
I agree.
I don't think they will dominate the meta, but I don't think they will be unplayable as they have been previously. But they also won't be broken.
It is a smaller faction. It's a little unfortunate that it's basically skyboats or bust.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really go no vessels.
Yeah, I guess I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing.
It's just like railroading you into one very specific type. I mean, I guess you could go like with the guys with the balloons on their back.
I mean, I kind of hate how Khorne railroads you into melee.
Yeah, that's true.
To me, that's just faction identity.
It's not the same. Like, you have to build your list around these boats.
Yeah, that is true. You have no option. Like, I guess within Khorne, you only have melee, but you have lots of different ways
You have
to
different
melee.
melee.
And that's a casualty of them being a small range.
Right. That's what I mean.
I do think that the difference between a frigate and an ironclad is enough that does give you a few different ways to build this army.
Okay.
So, because I think you could go more melee or go more don't touch me, I'm scared.
Sure. I mean, don't touch me, I'm scared to a certain extent because it's 500 points.
Yeah, don't hug me, I'm scared, I have a gun.
Yeah. Show would be a lot different.
The wounds on force.
Yeah.
Not that I'm better. All right. Well, that's it for this one. Join us next time for when we talk about something else. If you have any ideas of what we should talk about next time, let us know below. And we'll see you there.
Bye.